Live. Welcome everyone to Shifting Lanes Live, Shifting Lanes Garage on YouTube and Twitch. Welcome everyone to the weekly dose of automotive chatter and sometimes other things.
Especially tonight.
Yes, I'm Chad. With me as always is my good buddy Greg. How you doing, buddy?
Well, the Devils are up 1-0, so I'm feeling pretty good. As some of you may know, Chad and I are avid hockey fans. Chad is a New York Rangers fan, and I am a New Jersey Devils fan, among other teams, Blackhawks as well. But really kind of got back into hockey this year after more of a 6 or 7 year hiatus for myself. And the Devils are really good this year, and they're playing the Rangers, and it's a big rivalry.
Yes.
Always. So Chad and I have been going back and forth talking about the game. We both have the game on right now. Chad has two different feeds. One is on his TV next to him. One is on another monitor he's looking at, and I'm in my garage watching it on my phone. So we have lots of hockey going on around us streaming to you guys, but we're here to talk cars as well. Just so you know, if we're looking down or in other directions, it's the game. So
yes.
Just an FYI. We're not ignoring you. We love you. We're just hockey. It's hockey. And it's playoff hockey. So yeah. Playoff hockey is a very different animal. It is the single best thing.
So we have Christopher, what's going on, and Chad Andrew over on YouTube, what's going on, and Salamau Zine. If you don't understand that, his comment said, I started following a gringo channel, and now I don't understand anything they say. I'm sorry, we haven't gotten the... neither of us are bilingual, I apologize. But, welcome. I think Facebook does subtitles in multiple languages. I have no idea. But welcome. Yeah, I didn't pay attention in high school Spanish. I apologize. So we got Chris is a Bruins fan. Greg and I share our hatred for you equally. Steve, yes. What's going on? Mark, yes. Anthony over on Facebook, what's going on? Andrew goes, he totally forgot about the FCP Euro car meet and show that was yesterday. Greg was there. That's actually one of our topics for today.
Yes.
Justin, welcome. How you doing today? Greg, what's coming up soon, possibly this week, for your vlog?
My vlog will be installing 400 horsepower into my car because I reflashed my Hilton Stage 2 tune, the one that is not great. It dealt with my lovely check engine light. I got it inspected. I'm now good for another 2 years, and now I can flash back to stock and go with the new option, which is the TDI tuning box. So that is going to be very interesting. I am excited for that. And yes, it is. They promise, with no other modifications, 406 or so horsepower at the crank and 446 or so torque at the crank. So we will see, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to install it. That's going to be the first video. It's going to be a 3-part series. I'm going to install it, do a drive, and do sort of like a butt dyno, if you will. So tell you what the difference is between stock, my other flash tune, and then this box that I'm installing. Then I'm also going to take it to the dyno to confirm the numbers. And we have the dyno numbers from this for the first time, which was 315 at the wheels and 395 at the wheels, bone stock. Then we are going to take it to the drag strip to see if we can crack into the 12s. So I have the downpipe, and then I have this tuning box, and that will be those next 3 videos on this car.
Nice. Extremely exciting. Well, when Greg goes to the track, you know who else will be there? Me. It'll be me. I'll be at the
That's
track.
Right.
Yes, that's right. I will be, well, let's face it, I'll be gunning to make a fairly ridiculously fast pass.
Yes.
You know, mid to low 11s is the goal, but I'm just hoping to get into the 11s as I come to grips because it's basically completely different from the last time I took it to the track. The clutch is different, the shifter's different. There's, I don't know, several hundred more horsepowers than before.
There's an entire Veloster and more horsepower.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
it's pretty exciting. To those of you who are wondering what's going on in Mustang Land, if you missed it, head on over to the YouTube channel because that's where the dyno video is. That's where we kind of did a remote tuning session on it, where we figured out what our final power figure is. Spoiler alert, it's a lot. So you're definitely going to want to check that out. And this week,
yeah.
actually tomorrow, I will be dropping a video where we're conducting science on the dyno.
Science!
Basically, we are trying to see if there's a way to get more power out of my Mustang without without going to a smaller pulley on it per se. Because we are at the max of what 93 can handle safely with the boost we're currently running. So, given that I don't think 705 horsepower at the wheel is enough, we try to figure out if we can make like sort of a track setting, basically something where I go to the track, I can modify my car with a screwdriver and make significantly more horsepower. So that is what's coming. That is tomorrow. It's actually a pretty funny video. You're not going to want to miss it. And then next week we have my first drive. And then following that, we're going to go probably do another drive video because, spoiler alert, the first drive was ruined by, of all things, a Volvo. I understand the irony. So I'll probably do another one, especially now that the car is kind of broken in and I can kind of enjoy it more. And temperatures are actually conducive to grip.
Not spinning tires in fifth gear with 1/4 throttle because it's 2 degrees outside.
Pretty much. But yeah, I'm pretty excited for that. And then again, we have I have mistakenly showed it on stream last week, but you guys probably saw a little bit of it to our OGs. I will also be doing a cost breakdown on the Mustang, the build, what it would cost for someone to duplicate my build. That's also that was painful to look at. No, I'm not gonna lie. At any rate, going back to chat, Steve says, "Let's go Devils." I cannot support that message. Mark gives
Let's
some
go
eyeballs.
Devils. 94 and no more.
Salamau. I apologize if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly, bud. I am terrible at pronunciation. But apparently, he says, "I'm Brazilian and I don't understand what you say. I'm following to support. Send a hug here to Brazil." You got it, buddy. This is now officially an international stream. Greg, yes. Mark asks, no intake or exhaust?
For my car, no, there will not be an exhaust. No, because I don't want to lose the valves. And I know I could buy an exhaust with valves, but the restriction loss, or I guess the restriction gain you get with an exhaust on this really isn't that much. I was told by a master Volvo tech, Rich Forsyth, that you're going to want to do the downpipe and nothing more on the Polestar version of these. So taking his advice, but also like the exhaust really isn't going to give me that much more horsepower, and the exhaust is sort of there to make loud noises. And quite frankly, it sounds amazing to lose the valves or to put a valved exhaust on it when I already have something like that. Just seemed kind of silly to me. But intakes on these cars don't really add any horsepower either. You're getting just better airflow. It's not a horsepower gain here. Again, this is all specifically for the Polestars. I'm not sure about the regular the regular Volvos, the T6s, the R designs, anything like that. But the intakes of the Polestars really don't do much. But you do get more whoosh push noises, which is cool. So I'll probably do an intake anyway, just because I like the noises. The manifold definitely gives you a much better airflow and does add a little bit of power. So I'll be doing a manifold eventually for sure. Thank you, Justin, for the 100 stars. Appreciate that.
Here's to going international.
See. That's right. Here's to going international. So probably intake manifold, a 288 drop-in intercooler, the piping for all that. The piping actually on this creates the biggest, most significant power gain because the piping is very restrictive. A lot of people do a stock airbox with an updated, I think it's snob piping on this, and they see like 5-10 horsepower out of it because the piping is very restrictive in the engine here. And then I think that's probably it for now. And then after that, we'll get into the other stuff, like maybe an upgraded turbo, maybe some forged internals. But again, that's like way down the line. That's like next year, even year after. So downpipe, tune, and manifold, along with piping, are probably the four biggest things to add power to this. These things, from what I've learned over the last couple of weeks after doing research into it and talking to some people, these things are pretty maxed from the factory. You can get power out of them, obviously. Like a tune and a downpipe is going to add more, but the turbo is really maxed out. I've been talking to a guy, Matt Leavesley in the UK. We looked at my log that I took for the Hilton tune. The duty cycle on the turbo is totally maxed out around 4,500 RPM. So that basically just means that the turbo is not really going crazy after that. And the turbo itself is pretty maxed out from factory. So with all that said, I'll be doing a couple more things to this, but I don't know. After that, there's really not many other places I can go until we start slapping bigger turbo, forged internals, things like that on it. So we'll see as it goes along. But no, I will not be putting an exhaust on this thing. It sounds great as it is, and I'm not going to be gaining a lot of horsepower from it.
Bigger turbos.
Yeah, the bigger turbo is the biggest thing with these cars. Like that'll push power, obviously.
Yeah.
But to get to that point, I don't know. Probably gonna need another $2,000 or $3,000, and that's not just it doesn't cost that much, but that's how much I want to save to be able to do it. Because when you do a turbo, you're gonna have to do a couple of peripherals around it to make sure that you get optimal performance. And the transmission in these, you gotta upgrade it. So gonna need a trans cooler as well as an updated valve body. So those two things are something I've earmarked to do alongside of the turbo to make sure that I'm getting optimal shifting performance too. So that's probably the furthest down the line.
I want your car to go fast. Just saying.
Me too. I'm hoping to crack 12s with what I've got, then get into low 12s with the rest of it, or mid 12s with the rest of it. Then we start talking about turbo upgrades and things like that, trying to get this thing into the 11s.
Awesome. I personally love that. I would make for some interesting stuff because that car would hurt a lot of feelings.
It really would, yeah.
And I think
I'd love to just go to the strip with it and just launch it against like a GT350 or like a C6 Z06 and just stomp them, and they'll be like, "What on earth is in that thing?"
Yeah, and I mean, not for nothing, your car is so like when we go to the track, they do this nightly thing where it's called like the Gambler, and it's bracket racing. So basically how it works is you do your qualifying runs, and then you cannot go faster than that. So and it's a staggered light. So let's just say even as they sit now, my fastest time is 11.5. Greg's fastest time is 12.5. Greg's tree would go first, and then a second later, my tree would go. So... And then we would just go, and at the line, that's who wins, unless, say, Greg breaks out and goes faster than his qualifying time. But seeing as how your car is just plug and play, the launch, then it's an automatic, it all shifts at the same points. Anyway, that it would be perfect. I guarantee you, if you could nail the reaction time, you would win that almost every time.
Yeah, I would probably say you're 100% right. Because I did a 13.3, a 13.4, a 13.3, and a 13.4. So if
Yeah.
I could just nail
To
it the
be that
first time of the
consistent
day,
within a tenth is fantastic.
yeah.
And if we could get it
If I
to a
can,
point where we could do like get it on the half seconds or the full seconds,
mhm,
I mean a drag and drive event where we put you in the 12-second class or the 11.5 class or something would be
yeah,
pretty dang awesome.
that would be good.
Back to chat real quick. We got Antoine, an OG from the very beginning, is back in chat. What's going on, man? Everything is good. We're talking cars.
Welcome back, Antoine.
It's a good day. Justin says Greg should add some methanol. Uh, Doug. Doug goes, intake made his T6 go whoosh. Yes, intakes are good for noise, not much else. Basically that. I haven't ordered it.
Some intakes add power. Depends on the car.
They do, as long as they're a closed system. Every open element intake system only makes power when you're moving at a certain speed and getting fresh air into there. Otherwise, it's hot air and you're pulling ignition timing.
Subis, when you add a intake to a Subi, that's when that's the one I'm thinking of. That actually does add power because the intake is it's different. It's before the MAF, so you are adding power with the intake.
So Doug says rear sway bar is a top pick for first mod. We just have T6s though, not Polestars. Let me just help you out with Greg. Pretty sure I was talking to a bot from Brazil. Mark makes a point is as the night goes on, you would pick up time a little bit. Yes, that is true. But then again, Greg has your slower times was with you were launching in I think second gear or something like that. So we can slow Greg down to 10th or so. We can launch at a lower RPM or what have you. We can make it work, but my goal is to just make a crap ton of money on Greg racing like Camaros and stuff. That's really, really what it is.
Yeah.
Andrew over on the YouTube side of things, our one and only YouTube member. If you're watching on YouTube, we do offer memberships now. You get discounts, meetups, like when we're going to Carlisle, which we'll touch on in a little bit. But basically, there's a white 04 S80 T6 Premier that's for sale on CarGurus. It has 4C all-wheel drive, heated seats, and the rear electronic window shade. And it's not completely fully painted white. It also goes, it's in Virginia for sale. It has 86,000 miles on it. And I was debating if I should trade my S80 for it or should I just keep the S80? It's got more loaded than my S80. What should I do? Not knowing that platform, but just coming in general from a car guy's perspective, someone who's bought and sold quite a few cars, I would look at it from this standpoint. The car's not the same color. You really need to think about why.
Yep.
It may have fewer miles on it, but something led to it not being the same color. Sometimes the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. And in this case, with everything with your car, you've kind of sorted it and everything like that. I would kind of stick with what I got. It's a known quantity, as opposed to something. It just sends the radar up, right? Now, if the car was like $1,000 and it was way underpriced, then maybe think about it. But if you're considering trading your car for something like that, that could open up a can of worms. And nothing absolutely kills a new car experience more than having unforeseen issues.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, the more modern car is always going to be sort of like the sexier thing in your head, right? Because it's like, oh, it's a more modern car. They might be more reliable, but like to Chad's point, you don't necessarily know that car. You know your car, and if you've had it for a long time, which I know you've had, Andrew, if you know your car and you know it's decently reliable and you enjoy it and like it, I don't really see a reason to change, unless your car is becoming so unreliable that your mind is sort of already made up, if that makes sense. So if you're looking at cars to buy because your car is basically sort of failing you on multiple points or fronts, then yes, I would consider looking at it. But if it's not, then there's no real reason to change. So take that advice with a grain of salt. Obviously, it's your car, not ours. It also doesn't hurt to go look, but don't get swayed by salespeople or anyone who's selling it. Come in firm that you'd like to take a look at it and sort of just take it from there with no I can't think of the word, but there's no guarantee that you're going to buy it, basically. So that would be my advice. Can't hurt to go look, but a car that's not all the same color definitely has been in some sort of accident, or they swapped a body panel or whatever. Could have been just a fender bender or even someone backing into something from a parking lot. But even at that point, it's not really 100%, right? But your car might be. So I don't know. I would say proceed with caution.
Yes.
That's my best advice.
Greg, if you could do me a solid and then just continue talking for a second, I'm going to try. This bot is starting to annoy me. So.
Oh yeah, I've already banned them.
Fantastic. Greg is
Don't you
doing.
worry. I'm on Facebook Live Studio. I've banned them.
Greg is out here doing the Lord's work. Getting back to chat, Mark goes, the V60 would be a great car to send hyped up Scat Pack owners walking with their tail between their legs. I agree completely. Ironically, that's a car Hanson's actually has been thinking about quite a bit.
What, the V60? Oh no, the Scat Pack. Yeah. I was like, wait, what?
So hilarious. Upgrades to muscle car immediately slower. Still the slowest car in the group. Antoine goes, it's been a while, but since I've been away, I've started a new job. Congratulations. But I've been on too many different off days monthly with different schedules. But this month and next month, I'll be off Mondays and Tuesdays. So I'll be able to hang in the chat until I know what's going to happen for the June schedule. Awesome, man. You're always welcome. Like I said, you're one of the OGs. We're happy to have you back in chat. So,
hell yeah.
Good to have you back. We missed you. He continues with, I'm sure I missed that on previous live streams, but I'm positive you both have talked about the brand new DE5 Integra Type S. Wanted to catch up on what you both feel about it. Long story short, I love it and 100% see it as my second brand new car. I absolutely cannot find a reason to say not to. Basically,
I have a reason to say not to. But you go first.
Here's the thing. With that level of performance, and you're going to get Acura luxury, and a manual and like all that other stuff. Like with these types of cars, you're getting good DNA, so it's going to be an absolute hoot to drive. So if you like it, it suits you, it does everything you want it to do, absolutely go and get it. Just because let me put it to you this way. I don't see a reason, if you love the way it looks, if you love the way it drives and all this, I do not see a reason why you'd be disappointed. you kind of know what you're getting from Honda right now with the performance stuff, and it's a lot, especially given the compartment. Greg, go be negative.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to be negative. I like the car a lot, actually. I think it looks good. Wide body is very cool. Like Chad said, you're going to get the Acura luxury. It is a really, by all metrics, great car. The only thing I'd say, and it's not a negative thing. The reason to not get the Integra Type S is because the Type R Civic exists. It's going to be cheaper, and in my opinion, looks better. Because it's an actual wide body. They actually made fenders wider than the regular Civic. The Type S sort of does what like the Scat Packs do, and or the Scat Packs and the Hellcats do. They give you that sort of wide body option. It's sort of that like bump thing. It's not like a full fender elongation. It's that bump just right above the fender arch, which still looks cool. Don't get me wrong. Like I think it looks really good. However, the Integra Type R just looks better because they did it with the full fender, I feel. And some cars are different, like or Civic Type R, yeah. So yeah, Civic Type R has like a full fender. Like that's to me that just looks better. And it depends on the car too, right? Like there are some cars where fender elongation for wide body just doesn't look right. For example, Volvo 240s. However, Volvo 240s with like big box fenders on it look really cool. We've shared that rendering a million times on stream, and everyone that's a Volvo fan has seen it. It's really sick. But if you like some of the wide bodies from like Pandem or Rocket Bunny that you can just bolt on to like exotic cars, those don't look good. But those are similar to like sort of just adding a piece of cladding to an existing fender.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of flush wide body because. Yes. Let me put it this way: when you're wide bodying something, it's for a performance reason, right? And you see it on GT3 race cars all the time. But if you just put like a riveted wide body on that, it would create so much drag and so much just not what you want that it looks off. So I like the flush wide body simply because sorry, I'm last few seconds of the period here. I
guess, like we said, we're watching a hockey game. There's 20 seconds left in the second period.
When you kind of just add it to the... it just looks like an after effect. It looks, in my opinion, cheap. Yeah. But that said, big fan of the way the Type S looks. I honestly think if the difference in price is a non-factor for you, and you just like that Integra type, the Integra look, the Type S, all that other sort of stuff. I mean, you can't fault someone for getting the Teggy over, like say the Civic or something like that, right? I mean, if you could give me 95% of the thrills and a nicer overall package, meaning a nicer place to be, still with the supportive seats that you want in a sports car, still with the performance stuff, like. Having, it's one thing to have all the creds, but like the shifter's in a weird spot or all this other sort of stuff. It's basically a Civic, which means pretty much everything's going to be the same. It's just going to be a nicer place to be. And I could totally see getting down with that.
Yeah, agreed.
Is that another car? What does the Type S make? Horsepower wise?
I think what power wise? I think they said it was going to be 320. Or 325, something like that.
Please hold. Mathing.
It's going to be like 5 horsepower more than the Type R, I think they said.
Oh, no, whoops. Almost. So, to put it another way, that's 5 horsepower more, just 5, than I added to the Mustang.
I was going to say, this is a supercharger. That's funny.
And Mark says,
close.
Like Mark says, is like Mark says, more than enough to have fun. Absolutely could not agree more there. And what is going to be, without question, a fun package.
Yeah, for sure.
Steve, talking smack. Still, keep in mind, you still need to win this game to tie the series. Enough said.
Yes, but the Devils are the second best road team in the entirety of the NHL this year, past next to the Bruins. However, also caveat to that, it's the playoffs, and regular season doesn't mean shit anymore.
Trends mean fuck all in the playoffs. Like,
pretty much, yeah.
it's like you have a competency.
As evidenced by the first two games that the Rangers and Devils played. Oh, the Devils are faster. They're the better team, and then the Rangers utterly dominated every single aspect of play in the first two games of the series. Like literally everything: shots, hits, time, possession, neutral zone. Just every race to the puck. There were two Rangers there to one Devil. Every one of them. So like it doesn't mean, and the Devils dominated the season series like pretty handily for two or three of the games. So like regular season doesn't mean crap as soon as the playoffs roll around.
Yeah, I mean, that's what makes playoff hockey so awesome. It's just the intensity of it all.
Yeah.
Added with the complete randomness of it all, right? Like,
oh yes,
it's not impossible for an 8 to beat a 1, for a 6 seed and a 5 seed to meet in the cup final or something like that. Like, it's almost like if March Madness had 7-game series, right? Like,
right.
You just don't.
Yeah, I mean, who had Seattle being even with the Vegas Golden Knights right now? Nobody.
Wait,
literally nobody.
I thought Seattle was playing Colorado.
Oh wait, who's Vegas playing? Winnipeg?
Winnipeg.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, but is Seattle down 2-1 or are they 2-2? I forget. What's the?
I think they're down.
But Seattle being in the series at all, quite frankly, is blowing my mind.
Right, and that's the crazy thing about hockey too. It's like, what, the Vegas Golden Knights as a freaking expansion team made a cup final, or like,
yeah, in their first year, 2017, 2018.
That's nuts. The Kraken are in their second year, although the Kraken have to take the cake for absolute worst color scheme in the NHL.
Yes, very much so.
With
it is
teal, or that seafoam blue or whatever it is.
Yes, it is not good.
Not a good look. Antoine asks, have you guys seen the mid-cycle refresh for the Elantra N with the different front fascia and the new wheels? Look like they've been plucked from the Giulia Quadrifoglio. I have seen the refresh. My God, is it an improvement? The car is something...
Wait, the Elantra or the Sonata? The Sonata is the one that just came out.
Well, didn't the Elantra N just get a facelift?
Oh, I didn't see that.
I'm pretty sure it's the one we've been talking about in...
Bring it up on screen!
Oh, boy, does my computer not like the internet right now. I think I added a new feature to the stream, and I'm pretty confident my computer hates it. Or it could be the fact that I'm watching the live stream on all 3 platforms right now. And
as am I.
Yeah. Exit. Yeah. We're going to go ahead and make Chrome go away.
Doug has an interesting question while you figure that out. If you suck at art and want to have something done on the underside of your hood, do you find people under bridges or check with the local community college art program? The latter. Don't look for bridge trolls. That's highly unadvisable or inadvisable. I think that local community college art program is definitely the way to go there for sure.
Go away. All right.
Or you can just find a local artist. It doesn't have to be
Oh,
community
I guess it
college.
was the Sonata. Yeah, because the
Yeah, because I didn't think the Elantra got a refresh recently. They just redesigned that, last year, 2 years ago.
oh wait,
Yeah, the
yeah,
Sonata is
they
the one.
just did 6 days ago. Clean new look.
Oh, the Elantra?
Yes.
Oh yeah, bring it up. Let me see it.
Wow, car and driver, make your everything. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to Hyundai's.
Car and Driver's website is not good.
Hyundai.
It is a bad user experience.
Let's see here. De donde. Scrolling, still scrolling. Launch N. There we go. Releases, come on. It's got to be in here. Why do most car manufacturers' websites suck? Excellent question.
Because they're owned by corporations that think they know what they're doing about user experience, and most car websites just get shoehorned into their framework that they already have existing. It's very obnoxious. The only good one that I've ever seen was Jalopnik like 10 years ago. Because it was very bare bones. It was stripped out. It almost looked like a blog feed, and that's really easy to understand and follow. Also a lot of these places will have to make money, so there's ads all over the place, and like it's just tough.
Mm-hmm.
It's not great.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing to do is to subscribe to their newsletters, and don't ever go on their website until they send you something you want to see. Then click into it.
So that.
Oh wow, okay, that looks fantastic.
I definitely get the Alfa Romeo vibes on the wheels. I don't like circular wheel, straight lines on the outside. I would much rather have the lines been parallel as opposed to circle and then pentagon, sort of. But the front end is
looks good.
It's a massive improvement. Still not entirely my cup of tea, and not for nothing. It looks like they've already pre-impacted the side with the way that over here is, with like here, like I don't know. Let me put it to you this way. It's something Hanson's mentioned, but as far as regular manufacturers, let's leave supercar companies, sports car companies like Porsche aside. But Hanson made the point the other day when him and I were talking that Hyundai and Toyota are the two most exciting normal brands. Because if you look at it, like the N line with Hyundai, the GR line with Toyota, that you have kind of all points covered, right? Like Toyota, you could get an inexpensive GR86, you can get the Corolla GR,
yep,
and then you can get a Supra, and then there's ends aplenty over at Hyundai. Whereas like they're like, no, Ford, look at the stuff they make, but it's literally just the Mustang.
I was just gonna say, like, Ford just has trucks and the Mustang. That's it.
It's basically but here's the thing. You say that, but like you have the Mustang, you're gonna have a ton of variants, like the GT, the Dark Horse, Shelby's are coming.
Sure.
I'm very curious to see what they do with the 350. Like, do they keep flat plane or do they stay Coyote? Because another topic for another day is the Voodoo is an engineering marvel, but unnecessary. But But you also have
Accurate.
the Bronco, the Bronco Raptor, the F-150 Raptor, and the F-150 Raptor R. So yes, the bulk of their performance is in trucks, but that's still pretty interesting. And nothing really this side of the TRX can touch, right? But as far as cars, it's just the Mustang. Chevy, just the Corvette starting next year. Dodge, Chrysler in general, it's all going away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know,
And like the Germans all have the performance stuff, but they always have. So like for those mere mortals that don't want to spend $100,000 on an M3, which is what you're looking at these days, like $85,000 to $100,000 for an M3 is an absurd price. Quite frankly, I get that the G80 platform is very good and everyone loves it and everyone's waxing poetic about it. Front face beaver teeth aside. Everyone's like, oh, the new M3s are amazing. Blah, blah, blah. AMGs are amazing. RS line is amazing. Like, sure, but all of those cars are near or over six figures. The RS6 is a great example of that. That car came out 2+ years ago, and not a single RS6 Avant is below $100,000 online. Has never been. All of them have been over $100,000. Depreciation hasn't hit them. So like for hot performance wagon, that ain't it unless you're very rich. So like to Hanson's point, and I totally agree that like Hyundai and Toyota are the two most exciting, brands that like us normies can afford. And quite frankly, they have a good range of stuff. Which is cool. Like you can get an enthusiast car, some of them with manuals, for a relatively decent price. You can get a manual Supra now. That's awesome. And it's people are saying, oh, it's just a BMW, a BMW shifter. It's not. There's a lot of BMW parts in it, but Toyota had to special make that manual for the car. You cannot just take a Z4 transmission, pick it up, and drop it in a Supra. It won't work. They had to literally cobble together, they said like 4 or 5 or 6 different transmissions to actually make it work. So
that's insane to me. That is
BMW parts, sure, but like it is insane. But that's great because Toyota from the beginning when the Supra came out said, if there's enough demand and enough people are bitching and moaning about it, we'll make one. And they were true to their word. And that gives me unending respect for Toyota as a brand, because a lot of these companies say, oh, well, if our customers want it, we'll make it. And so many of them don't do things, but Toyota put their money where their mouth is. So they made it. They made a manual Supra and they engineered it to make it work because they couldn't just take the Z4 transmission and plop it in. So to me, like I always look in that like $45,000 to like $65,000 range for like realistic dream cars, and that's why like the F-Type R from Jaguar has always been in the mix for me. Like if I ever either hit the lottery or shifting lanes kind of took off, like that would be in the mix. That's probably in the clubhouse with the lead, right? But like a Supra with a manual is a very interesting proposition because the aftermarket is huge. They've been proven already in the last couple of years to be decently reliable, and they make huge power. Add a manual transmission to that, and well, there's a Mark IV Supra pretty much, just with the new one and just BMW
cheaper
stuff.
Than a
so
Mark
like,
IV.
Right, exactly. So to me, that's probably second or third on the list at that point, because you can get the same power that an F-Type R has, but it's got a manual. It's got good looks. They look good to me. I like the looks of the new Supra. They sound fantastic. And quite frankly, there aren't a lot of manual sports cars being made anymore right now. But Toyota just came out and was like, yeah, we'll make one. And did it. It's awesome. Good for them.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, Here's the thing: manual plus sports car plus attainable. Like
Yeah,
that's big,
and that's what
because
Hyundai is going for.
they're and yeah, that's huge. Like I wish the TC class or the TCA class was bigger here in the states, in the form
Yep,
of
agree.
motorsports. Simply because, and as Doug over here is suggesting, you get a notchback. Um, you know, because those are really cool cars. Hyundai plays in that field, Audi plays in that. Like the manufacturer support is insane. It's like they just like the big races here just don't really feature. I mean, sure they're in the support series with the GT4 stuff and that all that sort of like, but even when like Mustang and Camaro are racing in GT4, I couldn't really get into it. I love the fact that Mustang is coming to GT3. Absolutely love that because it just GT3 is where it's at if you make sports car if you want to go sports car racing outside of obviously prototype. But that TC series is really awesome because it's like watching cars you can actually afford drive around. You know, imagine, like Hanson can get into it because Hyundai is big into it. Like, imagine if there was a modern version of the C30 racing around in it. It's just a really cool class that I think gets more
Yeah,
play over in Europe or with the 24 Hour Series network, or series of races and stuff. But it's cool. Hyundai's all in on that sort of stuff. Like they're doing, and there's rumors every single time that they make a new, like Hyundai was in the discussion for a new IndyCar engine. They were in
yep,
discussion to do a GTP car for IMSA. I don't know why they never really pushed past it, but they're there. That's what happens when your performance division boss used to be the boss of BMW's M division. And I think that's the next level for Hyundai. To be Their stuff is seriously good. When you start playing with the big boys, you've arrived.
yeah.
But real quick, Antoine goes there. Outside of the V8, i.e., Cadillac CT5, Blackwing, the C8 Corvettes, and the S550 and S650 Mustangs, are the Turbo i4s and Turbo i6s and Turbo V6s taking over the enthusiast car world as the V8s are on their last push? Yes and no.
Yep.
So, yes, in the standpoint that the V8s are dying. Like, not just the V8, the cars with them are dying. Yeah. Again,
Yeah.
Chrysler, all their muscle cars, dead. Um, Chevy, the Camaro is dying. I honestly think the Camaro is going to come back, but it's kind of like the new Coke thing, right? You don't give them something for a while, and then all of a sudden you bring it back and you drive interest, just like they did before.
Yeah.
The Mustang's going to stay V8, just because here's the bottom line. Our turbo car is more efficient. Yeah, but it still takes power. To make 100 horsepower, you need a certain amount of fuel. So these big V8s, while not as efficient, they're not as inefficient as you're pretty much led to believe because again, you have potential energy in the fuel turned into kinetic energy. The difference in that is your efficiency. Wait, hold on one second. Greg, answer Antoine's question. I got something to take care of real quick.
Yeah, no sweat. As I'm doing something else. Where is Antoine's question? Hold, please. I will be going there. First, let's catch up on the rest of chat. Oh, so We can hear all of Chad's stuff. Oh my god. I think you all can see that or hear that. Oh, was that what you were doing? Oh, I was like, wait a second. I'm going to message you like, we can hear the Rangers game.
Yeah, we scored. That's the goal song, knucklehead.
I know it was the goal song, but like, I didn't see the goal actually until like you started playing the song, and I'm like, oh no, wait, what's happening? And then I look down, I'm like, oh, they scored. My game is delayed, I guess, like a minute behind yours. So I'm like, oh no, he hit the wrong button.
Yeah, no, I didn't have to go anywhere. I watched it and I was like, let's go.
Oh, hang on a second. I missed it. What happened? What was the goal?
Shoot. I got so excited that oh, there's no ESPN Plus got rid of the DVR. At any rate, real quick, I don't want to get sidetracked with hockey. We'll touch base on this real quick. I think here's the thing, right? I don't think the legacy cars, like Antoine said, the Mustangs and stuff, are not going to have V8s because they kind of cease to be what they are without a V8. Now, don't get me wrong. Frankly, a mid-engine Corvette with a flat-plane crank and hybridization and stuff like that, let me put it this way. It's not really going to bug me now if they go to a V6 because it's not really the Corvette I grew up loving anymore. That might be a hot take or whatever, but like, and there always be a place for the V8. But if we're going to start talking in the smaller, more affordable cars, for a company like Toyota, like Hyundai, like these companies don't really make a V8. If they were to bring, let's just say Hyundai decided to bring back the Genesis Coupe or some sporty two-door rear drive sports car, it's going to have some variation of a turbo 4-pot or a V6 or something like that, just because they don't make a V8. And if, let's say, on like Nissan, the 300Z or the new Z car, they're not going to take a V8 and completely develop it when they had that 3-liter turbo sitting around, because the 4s and the 6s are more prevalent in street cars. Basically the V8 in your normal sort of sedan, which are dying, but in your sort of normal vehicle, it's not like you can go out and get a full-size crossover now, which has kind of replaced the sedan, full-size sedan, with a V8. So you're not going to develop a new engine just to put in your sports car, when really you tweak an existing motor and you can get the performance numbers that you need. Plus, there's something to be said that turbos are cool. Boost is fun. Boost makes noise in addition, so you get your giggles and stuff like that. But like, I can't see, if it's not an engine already in the portfolio, I can't, like even the Coyote. The Coyote is a multi-purpose engine. It's in the F-150 and it's in the Mustang. Like, part of the reason they develop these engines is multi-purpose. When you start getting into bespoke engines for bespoke engine platforms, that's when cost goes through the roof. That's why Toyota partnered with BMW. It wasn't because they, it wasn't because they BMW or anything like that. It was because to develop a straight 6 would have made the Supra so prohibitively expensive that it wouldn't have sold.
Yeah.
So partnering with someone who already made a straight 6 because you needed a straight 6 in your Supra, like that's how this stuff sort of happens. Even though I still maintain that if they had taken like the 2UR out of any of the F cars and put it into the Supra, nobody would have complained. Just saying.
Right. Yeah.
Real quick, we'll catch up to
yes.
Catching up.
Catch up with chat. I shall be right back.
Alrighty. So, Doug, piggybacking on his LX Fox body comment, I just mean the basic power and performance without insisting on adding $30K worth of tech. Totally agree. Andrew, you're welcome. Sorry, I saw your comment a minute. I would have replied in chat over on YouTube, but I'm having issues with Chrome for some idiotic reason. Um, Always happy to help, man. Glad we could. Uh, Doug goes, when selling 300 horsepower four cylinder Volvos, customers often ask why don't why they don't get better economy with the four cylinder. Power isn't free. Exactly. Steve, blah Rangers. No, not blah Rangers. Yay Rangers. Um, and Mark asks, and how many people are feeding their turbo Volvos regular gas? I think you see that with the modern car, with knock sensors being what they are. You can. It's obviously not ideal, but you can. The car pulls a lot of ignition timing to prevent knock and detonation and stuff like that. Uh, it's fairly similar to how my Mustang. If I were to add boost, I'd have to increase octane, so I'd have to go to like a 98 or even 100 octane to increase boost in the Mustang. The engine's completely happy with it. From what I understand, 800 at the wheels is nothing for these Coyotes. I would just have to make. I would have to have a fuel that wouldn't detonate. That's the big thing with turbos, though, right? Turbocharged cars is you got to run premium. But on the flip side, a lot of your performance V8s are running compressions now that you really should run 91 at least. Like to Doug's point, he always tells customers to run at least 91, but most don't. Most of these manufacturers understand that their customer, depending on the car, is likely cheap and that they won't, they're going to cheap out when the opportunity presents itself. So they have to almost idiot proof their vehicles. Mark goes, just blows my mind that somebody buying a $50,000 car find the expense of the correct fuel to be an unnecessary expense. Think of it this way. If you leveraged yourself to buy the car, but now you're sort of living paycheck to paycheck, but you want the prestige of the car or whatever, I see that a lot. I see that quite a bit with people buying cars that are beyond their means, and the cars inevitably suffer. Uh, you know, I have access to 93. I always put 93 in my vehicle, my car. The only time I adjust octane is one of the things we did on the dyno in tomorrow's vlog. So definitely going to want to check that out. Mark asks, one of my auxiliary viewers by proxy, if you will, just asked if Chad got a new chair yet. I have not. Short version is Monday nights are one of the few nights I get home at a reasonable time. Work is insane. I won't bore you with the details, but yeah, work is insane. I will be getting a new chair. I will be getting a fire suit, or not a fire suit, but a fire jacket in the coming weeks. Just want to get through a few things first. Mark goes, when you're talking about fuel, even if it doesn't hurt the engine, it does affect efficiency. Exactly. The most efficient engines out there are the highest compression engines or highest cylinder head pressure engines. And that applies to both. Like if you look at efficiency, again, efficiency is two different things. Efficiency is miles per drop of fuel, like distance traveled, versus power output. So if you look at a Ferrari V12 and even, believe it or not, a Mustang, a Gen 3 Coyote, they are extremely efficient at turning kinetic or potential energy into kinetic energy, i.e., and both share one thing in common, and that's high compression ratios. Diesel engines, highly efficient engines, stupid high cylinder head pressures, just insane. So if we can run cars at higher compression, higher cylinder head pressures, efficiency will rise. You just need the fuel to support it. And that goes kind of to your point. If the fuel can't support it, it pulls ignition timing, and you're basically losing the benefits more. You're basically you're losing all of the benefits because the engine doesn't want to, I don't know, bend a rod. Um, I think I hear a sniffling Greg back, so here he is.
Hello. I am sniffling, yes. And thank you, Mark, for the 500 stars towards Chad's chair.
Yes.
Appreciate that, brother.
Believe it or not, I'm still financially recovering from the astronomical amount of money. God damn it, the devil scored.
Really? Oh, I am on a delay. I'm still at 1-1. I'm watching it now. Watching it, and still watching.
Yes.
I might as well not watch this.
But yeah.
Oh, so to the thing that Mark said. Even if it doesn't hurt the engine, it does affect efficiency. Putting the wrong octane in a car, putting the wrong octane in a car over time will hurt the engine, because the whole thing about octane is about compression. And if you put the wrong compression gas in your car, it's not an immediate thing, obviously. The ECU pulls timing and adjusts for that. We know that with modern cars. However, different detonation leads to the differentiation of timing and things like that. And if you what happened? Oh, not good. What happens is, like, if you run 89 or 87 in a car that needs 93 over a long enough period, 2, 3, 4 years, it could lead to rod knock, which could lead to bad detonation, which could lead to your engine having a catastrophic failure, burned valves, like I said, rod knock, piston failure. So, like, in the short term, running different octane is fine. If you can't find 93 or 91, running it on regular for a couple of tanks, it'll be okay. However, you shouldn't do that over the long term, because you are going to jeopardize the integrity of your engine.
Right, and that's the thing. Engineers... Oof. That hurt my knees. Engineers, engineers do things for a reason. And to get the benefits of a turbocharger, you need the ability to compress the air. Doug sent stars for that higher octane fuel. Thank you, good sir.
102. I like the 2. The extra 2 is definitely good.
So here's the thing. It's just like, you're not going to run a thinner weight oil in your car to cheap out.
Right.
You're not going to run, if you cheap out on tires, well, don't be surprised if your car doesn't stop the way they said it would. If you're going to cheap out on service, if you're going to cheap out on, anything, eventually it will come back to bite you in the ass. But that said, a lot of people lease vehicles these days, and a lot of them only have it for 2 years. So they don't care.
True.
So
yeah, that's true.
And then on the other side of the equation is, if you are not running cylinder head pressures, if you are not running compression that justifies running a higher octane, or you don't have a computer that can recognize higher octane and increase timing, all you're going to do is, I forget who said it, Mark in chat, all you're going to do is burn valves and things of that nature. So, bottom line, just do it. If you can't afford to put the right stuff in your car, don't buy that car. It's really simple. You can't afford that car if you can't afford to put freaking fuel in it. Just saying.
Yeah, I agree with that. If you're buying a car and you're stretching your means to buy that car, like you can't afford to run 91, 93, then you definitely 100% should not be buying that car. Go find a car that has an equivalent amount of luxury or performance with regular gas. That's the alternative.
Right.
For example, if you're looking at a Volvo XC90, a used one, you should look at a Hyundai Palisade because it's fairly luxurious. It's exactly what my wife is looking at right now, and it runs on regular, and it's got a almost 300 horsepower V6, which is a decent engine. They're having a couple of problems with them, but they're not horrible. But the equivalent Volvo horsepower wise is a twin charged 4-cylinder that requires 93.
Right.
So it's also not an ideal scenario there either. So
right.
you gotta sort of pick and choose.
Here's the thing: we live in a day and age where that's the big thing. I think there's a couple companies out there who are getting decent power out of regular like 87. When I say regular, I mean 87 octane, and like a turbocharged car or something like that. It just, like you said, here's the thing: be smart with it. If you,
yes,
it's, let's just say, for example, right? Don't be that guy who goes out and buys the Cummins Ram and then complains about how expensive diesel is.
Yeah.
Like, let's be intelligent about it. At any rate, Antoine asks, and I think this is just based on the first sentence, I think this is actually going to be a good thing to talk about. What would you think if Ford turbocharged the Coyote in order to save the V8, or hybridize the V8 if it means having to save the V8 on fuel economy aspect, even though Mustangs are never about fuel economy? I'm talking like 7 years down the road in 2030, and as in 2030s as a decade. A turbocharged Coyote would be next level, even if it means taking the Coyote to the next level. Keeping it 100% gas with a turbo or adding hybrid powertrain while still keeping it gas. I don't think most owners would be too upset by that, unlike the Dodge owners with the EV. I've maintained for a very long time that I think a turbo Mustang would slay. Now, don't get me wrong. The supercharged GT500 is, in my opinion, one of the top 3 Mustangs ever made. And an argument could be made that it's number 1. Not here to discuss that, but you've already seen it. Ford did do a twin turbocharged version of it with like 1,200 horsepower or whatever, which is insane. But Ford has kind of pushed the envelope with that sort of stuff, right? Like, while Chevy and Dodge are still living in the pushrod world, they went to dual overhead cam. Then they went to a flat plane crankshaft V8. Ford is, and then, Ford has made their car more about being a sports car and not just a pure muscle car. Like, Ford has always been about that. So, I mean, not for nothing, you could hybridize an S550 Mustang and it would still weigh about the same as a Charger, which is not to say light, but just to give you an idea of just how much lighter the Mustang is than, its counterparts. I think it's inevitable, honestly. I think a hybridized version of the Mustang is coming. I don't think the S650 looks the way it does without thinking about a hybrid. I don't think that hood is that tall without thinking of an electric motor going on the front axle at some point in its future within this generation of Mustang.
I think so too. I agree with that. The way that just the market is going, but also the way Ford is going, I feel like we'll see a hybrid Mustang within the next couple of years. Also, especially because there's now a hybrid Corvette.
Right, and
Mustang has traditionally followed, not necessarily spec wise, but like trend-wise, sort of like what the Corvette's done a little bit, or at least they've been on par with each other. About like,
Let me
well,
modify that a little bit. Mustang has always aimed for Corvette, where the other two,
yeah, yeah,
Dodge does their own thing, and Camaro just plays catch up with, try to play catch up with both.
yeah, I would agree with that.
You know,
Yeah, I don't think maybe
the Mustang
maybe
GT500 was,
follow trend is necessarily the right thing, but like, as soon as the mid-engine rumblings kind of came about, I don't know.
anywho, while you look at Greg's mid conversation phase, I think we have him back.
Oh,
But
there we
I'll
go.
say
Yeah,
this, like,
I literally got a. Sorry, I literally got a. There's a problem with your network message. I'm like,
yeah.
oh no.
That's the thing. Like, here's the thing. Like, to Antoine's point, would if you gave me two options, a fully electric Mustang or a Mustang with a hybrid, I'm taking the hybrid.
Agree.
You know, and I think you can play with the hybrid system a little bit. Like, you don't necessarily have to do all-wheel drive, even though that is kind of the trend. You could mess with a flybrid system, and you know what that would, you could keep a manual in it, and have it fill in torque gaps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I like we've talked about numerous times on this stream. Internal combustion ain't going anywhere. So
It's not. Everyone says it is, but it's not.
So let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. I honestly, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, I honestly thought the S650 was going to have some variation. Like, I thought there was a chance. I didn't think it was a good chance, but I thought there was going to be some variant with the EcoBoost 6, similar to, maybe not as extreme as the Ford GT motor. And I just,
As the top end, you mean?
as like
no V8?
no, so more as a 425 horsepower, 440 horsepower, whatever. Basically match the current spec, so 460 GT variant, and then you would have something akin to the Dark Horse making 5 to 550. That was the V8.
Okay.
I don't necessarily think that now, especially with what we're seeing with the S650. I think it's much more likely to see a hybrid version. But again, I wouldn't be shocked if the next Shelby was turbocharged. I would not.
I agree with that. I think there's going to be something, and I think they're going to be not necessarily forced to do it, but I think that it's something that they'll want to play with.
Right.
Specifically, since it's been supercharged forever, and
It's not even about
I think that
supercharging.
Well, I think that you, like, to your point that you've said a bunch of times, I think you get more turbos can give you more power over the long haul. And I think that the turbos, I think, are also going to give us a bit better efficiency too.
Right. And I think, I mean, not for nothing, the Coyote takes the boost like very few other naturally aspirated engines.
Yeah.
Ask me how I know. It's just it's just one of those things, man. Like, look, I think I don't like what Dodge is doing. I really don't like it. I feel like they could have eased into it as opposed to going full electric. I think they went for the be first. You know what I mean? We're going to be the first electric muscle car company, and that's how we're going to get in, and we're going to have a leg up on all the others, blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, Ford's going to take a look and be like, all right, we're just going to do it better. And then it's just going to be gone.
I really like what Dodge did with the Challenger and the Charger, and not crazy redesigning it. And I said in a video I did on the main Shifting Lanes channel, the Challenger has sort of become the American 911 in that respect, not necessarily based on performance, but based on it hasn't been really thoroughly redesigned almost ever. They've done really good little tweaks here and there. They've upgraded parts. They've done sort of differentiation of like specs here and there. They've tweaked the body just enough to make it new, but it's not old. Like not everything lines up 100%. And that's sort of how like the 911 goes. Like they always do the refresh, and it always sort of looks the same, right? But it's different but the same. The Challenger sort of went in that same direction, and the Charger to a certain extent too, but mostly the Challenger. And so, like, the thing is, like, they won the sales race last year, and they are now changing this car at the peak of both of those cars' popularity. Like, that's a big mistake. Like, they are alienating people that have now come to love this design and this car over the last 15 years that it's been out. And it is an alienation because it's a totally different design of a car. It's a totally different drivetrain of a car, obviously EV versus internal combustion. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. It could have been a easing in as opposed to a cold turkey scenario. And I mean, let's face it, Dodge is not a company that does the thing first and is the best at it. They never have been, they never will be.
Here's the thing with
But
Dodge.
they
They
if they have something and it's good and they work at it, it does become excellent.
I mean, that platform is a early 2000s, late 90s E-Class platform.
Mercedes, I know.
You know, like let that sink in. I mean, Dodge, they knew what they had. And that I guarantee you they didn't have the same budget that Mustang had. They didn't have the same budget that even Camaro had. So that's why it was the same platform for forever. And it's cheaper to slap a big ass supercharger on an engine, give it bigger brakes, because frankly, all you have to do is be like, hey, Brembo, yeah, they need to be this big. No, I'm serious.
Yes.
Yeah, we're putting 700 horsepower in it. No, for real. Yeah. Yeah. All right, cool. We'll see you next week. You know?
Yeah.
Like, you're not, that's brakes. And then the suspension, again, it's a tuning. It's all tuning. It's not a complete rethink. I mean, how many, like, what are we on the, we might be on, I think we're on the third, we absolutely are on the third generation of Mustangs since the Challenger or since that platform came out. Like, think about that for a second. You know, and then, but here's the thing. They had great marketing and they just leaned into the old school. They leaned into muscle car, going in a straight line, going like a bat out of hell. They didn't try any of this nonsense with like, hey, corners to Steve's point. Like, yeah, 911, corners a lot better, but that's not the point. It just Charger Challenger, specifically the Challenger to me, is just a vibe. It is such a strong vibe.
Very much.
You know, it's basically a time machine to the late 1960s if they had GPS. Like, it's just a time warp. And it's just, I mean, not for nothing, Mustang sales are going to skyrocket. They just are.
Oh, definitely.
People are going to want V8s in their life, and Chevy and Dodge are going to be like,
yeah. Well, it's also the only option.
Like,
it's the only option.
You know, so it's just, I think, honestly, with Stellantis as a whole, I think there's two things at play. One, there's they weren't handed a dump truck of money to go design new ones. Because I think if you, I don't know, make a Challenger that's of this century, of the last 2 decades, a little bit lighter, a little bit more here and there, it's just, it would make a hell of a lot more sense. Because, I mean, not for nothing, you're going to get better fuel economy if you just make the car lighter. That's just going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, like, we could go on and on and on, but like the point of it is I think they don't have the capital to redesign one, and I think there most of that company is European,
Yeah.
and we know what the direction Europe is going, and I think there
Right.
was just so much pressure on that they said, oh, here's the here's America said they're going to do it too, blah blah blah. So here we go. We're going to make the first e-muscle car. When I think it would have been way better suited as a complement to the existing line.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I totally
Okay.
agree. I think they should have lived alongside of each other for a little while, and then eased into the sort of EV range.
Right. Nate,
Yeah,
thank you
I
so
agree.
much for the stars. I'm here for the Facebook takeover. O'Doyle rules. The new Mustang is spectacular.
Yes. Thank you, Nate. Thank you, brother. And I agree. The new Mustang is spectacular.
So we've been
Um,
kind of rambling on for a second.
on that note, yeah,
We're just gonna try to sort of maybe catch up with chat. Let's see here. Mark goes, turbos utilize energy that is otherwise wasted. It's magic. It's just, I mean, with modern turbos, honestly, let me put it to you this way: if I had just gotten my Mustang from start and then just wanted to wait 2.5 years and then boost it, I probably would have been turbocharging. But because I wanted to get content on the channel, headers, mods, all this other sort of stuff, um, turbocharging would have obviously been a backtrack. So boosted, here we are. Antoine, now that the Camaro Challenger and Charger, as people know it, are on the way out, the S650 Mustang is really going to be in a class and segment of its own now. Now, this gives the Mustang the opportunity to compete with the Corvette. Now, no longer will there be a Mustang versus Camaro versus Challenger wars. It's going to be Mustang versus Corvette wars. I think that's what the Mustang slash Ford Performance Division and the Corvette Division both want. I agree. Like, the top of the range Mustang has always aimed itself squarely at Corvette. Problem arises that Corvettes are generally lighter by a fairly significant amount. And that's a big thing. And now that they're talking about just what kind of power the ZR1 and the Zora are going to make, I mean, we're talking knocking on the door of 1,000 horsepower. It's going to be really hard for the Mustang to make up that power gap without making something that is completely insane and probably shouldn't be sold to the masses type of vehicle. I'm totally on board with it. Just because I think the idea of like a 1,200, 1,400 horsepower Mustang is awesome. But it's probably let me put it to you this way. If you make that too affordable, you see what normal Mustang owners, who are idiots in general, do with those cars. It's a lot. That's why I was kind of hoping that the S650 platform kind of leaned harder into, oh, well, this game's over. Yay. Yeah, leaned into kind of shedding weight like the S550 did. But I totally agree. I think the top of the range Shelby will always be a match for the, I don't want to say base Corvette, but like the regular Corvette with the normal engine and the handling, or this, I forget what the handling package is called, but pretty much that. Doug, Chrysler Baron convertible, they brought it back before and other Americans, but yeah, I think it's about the only example of them leading the way. I mean, Chrysler used to be very forward thinking. I mean, we all didn't like them, but they pretty much, they may not have invented the minivan, but they took the minivan concept and made it palatable to the masses. And we saw how stupidly popular that was. Everybody gives Mustang credit for sort of the retro modern revolution with the way they did I'm gonna forget the designation, but with the Mustang. But really, it was kind of Dodge with the Viper and how it was very obviously a modern Shelby Cobra. So like Dodge used to think that way. It was the problem was is that they just never could gain enough market share, gain enough traction, earn enough money to really push those ideas forward, and it just kind of sinks. Um, let's see here. Antoine asks, Chad, you know how Greg's Volvo is both twin charged and the S60 T8 Polestar engineered is a twin charged vehicle. Actually, not to be pedantic, I do apologize for this. Greg's Polestar is a turbocharged straight six. His wife's car is twin charged, so I don't know if you're referencing that or what have you. I'm trying not to be that guy, but at any rate, is a Mustang Shelby with a combined turbocharger and supercharger asking for too much in terms of performance? Short version to that is I do not think it's necessary. Modern with displacement, i.e., going from a little 2 liter to say a 5 liter with 12 to 1 compression, you can. I mean, obviously you have to lessen compression, but bottom line is you can get the response. You don't have to have massive turbos to wake that engine up. I mean, let me put it to you this way. With my engine, with 11.5 to 1 compression, I'm making 705 wheel horsepower on 10 pounds of boost, which isn't a lot. So, does bring up an interesting thing. I saw a YouTube video, and I meant to save it for you guys. I forgot about it. But I just watched a video where a guy had a Sylvia that had a 2J that was twin charged, which I thought was pretty cool. Again, I just don't think the combination, I mean, not for nothing, you could go the route that Hennessy went with the first iteration of the Ford GT, not the GT40, but the road car, where they were turbocharging those, feeding a supercharger, feeding the PD blower. But modern turbos are so responsive, especially as you start making engines bigger, that lag isn't so much of a concern to where you want that immediate punch of a supercharger. So I think if they were to make a 1,300 horsepower just destroyer of worlds, it would be more than likely twin turbocharged, and they call it a day. Mark already made the correction. Thank you, Mark. There's still Antoine again. There's still the Corvette sedan that's still being talked about to come from the Corvette division. Although the rumors is it would be an EV, a part of me thinks it still come with a V8, even if it means it would be the successor to Cadillac's V Series Blackwing and the departed Holden brand with the Commodore, aka the SS. I think you're way more likely to see a crossover with like the Mach-E. A sedan would be cool, but here's the thing. Corvette name means a lot. It is one of those seminal brand names in automotive. It's like the Mustang. It's like 911 or what have you. It is a brand in and of itself. And while I do understand the appeal of doing something sedan-wise, I think you lost a lot of Corvette people when you went mid-engine. A sedan, just don't call it a Corvette, man. Like, call it something else, like the Aerovette. Or I know the Aerovette was the four-rotor mid-engine Corvette from yesteryear. But just do that. Like, if they called this Corvette the Zora and still had a lightweight 400 to 500 horsepower V8 sports car, especially with the Camaro dying, that would have filled a pretty awesome niche. And sedans just don't sell anymore. Like, it would be cool. It would fill that gap, but there's a reason why the Blackwings are going away. There's a reason why the SS went away. There's a reason why the Camaro is going away, which was basically a two-door SS. There's a reason for all of this. I would much rather, if they're, and like, not for nothing, how the heck do you make a mid-engine sedan work? I would much rather see a lightweight Corvette front or something with a front engine than a sedan, because I think it would appeal to that niche market more than a sedan would.
Are we talking about like what Corvette is making next?
Yeah,
they've already announced they're making an SUV. That's a real thing that's happening in 2025.
and it doesn't look half awful.
It's no longer a question. They literally said there's one coming. That's in 2025, available late 2024. And that's a thing that is happening. Like, and it doesn't look half awful, but it also doesn't look good either. Like it's
No, and I mean
it's just a crossover with a Corvette face. That's all it is.
And again, it's the way the winds are blowing. Like, again, it comes. It comes with the name. The name Corvette means something. Like,
Yeah.
again, I understand a mid-engine Corvette was sort of Anton Zora's back. It's where he envisioned the Corvette always going. So, like, while it doesn't bug me that the Corvette's mid-engine, it does a lot of the purists. Now, some might say, get your head out of the sand, get with the times, or what have you. But here's the thing: the people who can afford Corvettes are the old stubborn people who like the old school side of it.
Yeah.
And honestly, for my money, while I respect the engineering, I feel like the C8 Corvette is leaning way too much into being an American 458, and then eventually an American 488, and then a 488 Pista. Like, it just feels too much like that. For me to get, I mean, don't get me wrong, the ZR1 and the Zora are both mind-bendingly stupid powerful, and I'm always on board for that. By the way, it just does not feel like Corvette, and now we're getting a crossover. Like, it's the same thing when Ford slapped the Mustang badge on the Mach-E. If you had just called it the Mach-E and left the Mustang name out of the equation, and sort of like branded it as like it's got the DNA or what have you, it would have been just a much more well received from people like us and enthusiasts, and frankly the people you're trying to attract by putting a Mustang badge on an electric crossover. It's the same thing with Corvette, right? Like, if you just called it like the if that was what was actually called the E-Ray or something, whatever. It has the DNA of like, if the Corvette and a Tesla had a baby, poof. Like, here we are. It would have been just way more well received. It's like the names mean stuff, and these auto manufacturers need to get through their heads to just because it's successful on one thing does not mean you should just slap it on it. You should make it a sub-brand and be like, well, you know what the Mustang's lineup's missing? An electric crossover. We should totally make that. Like, no, that's not what the Mustang means. It's not what the Mustang is. The Mustang is a pony car. It's supposed to be cheap, well, cheapish. It's supposed to be affordable horsepower for the masses that, maybe not every man could afford, but every man could see themselves obtaining. And it has nothing to do with utilitarianism and, like, a crossover. Like, the frick out of here. Like, again, all they had to do was just remove the Mustang from it. Mach-E. And then you could just market your way into it with it shares the DNA.
Yeah. So to that point, and to your point of, like, it doesn't feel like a Corvette. So I think the C8 is what the Corvette always was going to be.
Right. Well, that was Anton Zora's end game. That was his end goal.
Right.
That was what he wanted. So that's why I wasn't like, it's a witch, burn it. But
right.
Corvette also has morphed into you could say you exhausted the front engine platform all you want, right? It was, let me put it to you this way. The fact that it's mid-engine would not, if I want, like, the mid-engine Corvette is not something I would not buy. What would prevent me from buying it is I'm not a big fan of the actual styling of it.
Right.
That's the thing there. But again, it's just like, look, that was the final form of Corvette. It was always going to be mid-engine. Thank God they didn't put a rotary in it like the Aerovet. But it's just,
Well,
I feel like the Corvette always had a sense of, it had a similar sense to the 911 where they're like, nope, the engine's here, it's staying here, and we're not changing it, and we're going to just engineer our way into making it the best possible, into the best sports car you can get. There was an element me of the Corvettes that I loved the fact that here was this American car with a pushrod V8, that the engine was in the front. Now, it was a front mid car, so it was, not pure front engine, right? That was sitting here and going to the rest of the world. Now it feels like it almost feels like if I would sat here for like 9 years in a row and tried to convince you, even though they lost, yes, Steve, the Rangers lost, to try to convince you to be a Ranger fan, right? And I was talking about it, and you're like, no, I like the Devils. I'm sticking with the Devils. They're my team. They're this, that, and the other thing. And then all of a sudden, you're like, you know what? Screw it. I'm a Ranger fan. That's what it feels like to me. It feels like they're like, well, we might as well just copy the Europeans. We might as well just make this car. That's the sense I get with it. Don't get me wrong.
So I'm super glad you said that, because I have a counterpoint to that I wanted to make on what you were talking about with, okay, well, now it's a C8 Corvette and I'm not like 100% in there, but I'm not like it's a witch. So to your point of like what his name is Anton, right? Anton Zora. That's right. So the whole point of that was like they've always wanted a mid-engine Corvette. GM has, especially with what Zora had sort of imagined back in the day, and they sort of had glimpses of it with the Aerovet, right? But so think about where GM was in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Any of those decades, GM never had the resources to really make a mid-engine Corvette. And you could make the argument, oh, GM was the biggest car company in the world, blah, 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 blah. But they were the biggest car company in the world for a specific reason. They made affordable, cheap, decently reliable cars for the masses, for the biggest market in the world, which was the United States, right? So that through the 90s, or at least the early 90s, was sort of how it all played out. Then in the 80s, you started to see like the sort of winds changing with like the Japanese revolution, with how they could create a cheaper car and blah, blah, blah. And once that sort of shifted a lot of the tides, GM did not have a use case for making a mid-engine Corvette anymore. It always had been, to I think Mark's point, it always had been sort of talked about since the 60s, like where's the mid-engine Corvette, blah, blah, blah. But GM, I don't think really had ever thought to throw the money at it to make it a reality, because they had a platform, like you said, which was front engine, very successful, very popular. So why change it? And my theory is this. When GM started to see the winds of change in the mid to late 2000s and into the 2010s, with Tesla sort of coming into the fold, and as they, total speculation, total theory on my part, but as they sort of started to see this whole thing with EVs sort of pick up, and with market trends sort of go in different directions, and mass downsizing of engines starting in the early 2000s and through the early 2010s, I think they sort of said to themselves internally, like, if we're going to do it, it needs to be soon. And to a point I made on a prior stream of R&D for a car takes on average 6 to 8 years. I think GM and Corvette and Chevy in the early 2000s or in the early 2010s, and even conversations probably back to 2005, said if we're going to do it, we need to do it soon. because there's going to come a time when we can no longer do it. So my theory is it wasn't so much as an exhausting of the front engine platform as we see the internal combustion engine sort of hitting its peak. And if we're going to do a mid-engine Corvette, we've got to do it now. And that, I think, was the true catalyst for them to sort of actually sort of get their ass in gear and make a mid-engine Corvette, not to copy the Europeans, but to show the Europeans that they could do it. Because it's always been mid-engine Italian versus front-engine American in that sort of mindset, right? So my theory is they saw the writing on the wall. They said, you know what? Let's show them what we can do. We see this whole thing going awry in the next couple of decades because, quite frankly, they have the manpower and the R&D to foresee these things far before we do. So they likely did see that about a decade ago and said, let's start designing this and let's do it secretively and let's figure out how we can make a mid-engine Corvette. And then, to my theory of a decade ago, that's 2013, right? Magically, 2 years later, we have a new Ford GT. Oh, well, there's even more reason to make a mid-engine Corvette. Let's figure this out, because if Ford's making a new GT, you know, they're going to be upping their game with the Mustang. They're going to be upping their game performance-wise. We now need to really get our shit together. That's my theory. And I really think that it wasn't out of a necessity. It was more out of they foresaw everything sort of coming to a close for the internal combustion engine before other people did, or before the general public did and enthusiasts did, and said, if we're going to do it, now's the time. We got to do it, or else it's never going to happen.
So,
probably wrong, but that's my theory. That's my conspiracy theory of the day for the automotive realm.
So I'll counter that with, to your point, twofold. Number one, to your Ford GT comment, the GT has its own little special place because of what the GT40 was. That's right. What it was. The GT40 was designed. Now, I'm going to blank on the actual chassis, but it eventually, with the Mark IV GT40, it ended up being an all-American design and everything like that. But originally, it was, I'm going to say, it's not, I don't think it's a Dallara chat. I forget what it was. But basically, they took a European chassis, modified it slightly, threw in a socking great American V8. Think mid-engine version of the Shelby Cobra, right? Like the Cobra started life as an AC Ace or something like that. I'm probably wrong on it, just like I was on Zora's name. Thank you for correcting me, Antoine. But that was a European car with an American engine. And then eventually it became an all-American vehicle, but they took the lessons learned from that. So it was always a mid-engine car, and it was always a mid-engine car with the singular focus of just absolutely cock-slapping Ferrari. Fast forward to its modern versions or what have you. Yes, Ford had this mid-engine, but Corvette has won the GT class at Le Mans more. Like Ford GT, the modern ones have won it once. Corvette has won it very many more times. Taking down the likes of Aston Martin, taking down the likes of Ferrari. This was even back in the GT1 days, where we're talking 6-liter V12s going up against like teams like ProDrive and stuff like that. So like the GT's ethos was to just crush Ferrari, and to crush Ferrari, you had to follow back then this template, and then it followed ever since. So it's not like the GT was one thing and then became another thing. It was purposeful, and it was made no bones about it that it was designed by a Scotsman. It was built off of a European chassis, and then Shelby just sort of sprinkled his magic Shelby sauce all over it. And yes, I do mean that in the multiple meanings most of our immature chat members are thinking. Secondly, it's not a copy. It's I get the idea. If like, well, if we're gonna do this shit and pay homage to this guy who was Corvette, we kind of got to do it now. I get that side of it, but to say it's not a copy, I kind of disagree with, because that 5.5 liter flat plane crank V8 that you get in the Z06 is a big bore version of, or a big block version of the 458 Italia's V8. It is
that part I agree with you with. They didn't need to do that. They really didn't. That engine is just like, that's a
like
total
not for
shot
nothing.
at
It's
it,
like
for sure.
Not for nothing. They could have made the C8 Corvette everything we wanted the most recent Ford GT to be. The regular Corvette had a pushrod V8, and there's no trouble getting big horsepower out of those. As Chevy has been showing us with all of their Corvettes. I think that old school kind of feel to it would have made it feel better. Number one. Number two, like, I understand, to everyone's point, that this is something that was always discussed. Like, we had the Aerovet right here, right?
Yeah.
It was...
which looks super cool,
like,
by the way.
not for nothing, that looks good.
Still.
That looks really, really cool. That
is very
with
cool.
a 7.3 liter rotary, by the by.
Which is ridiculous. Like, how did they get that much literage out of a rotary?
Big rotors.
Yeah.
So I understand all of that, but there are so many things in this world where they were created and their end goal, their final form, was perceived to be one thing, but they became great at what they were at the time, and just becoming an evolution of that became their form. That became what they were known for, and that's what I'm trying to say, is that we did it the American way. Front engine, pushrod, big V8, let's go. And we took it to the Europeans and Japanese and stuff like that with that mindset, and we were beating them. And like the most laughable thing ever, if you go and you look at the last version of the GT1 C6R and see that the intake tubes are about this big, and then funnel down to something about that big for their air restrictor.
Yeah.
Just how new, like the fact that these cars were so neutered that they were making like peak power around like 5,200 RPM or something like that. Because they were just stomping everyone. Like, there's a part of national pride where we were American and we did it our way. It wasn't like we were copying anyone. It wasn't like we were doing it our way. There was a sense of pride I got from that. Now when I look at the Corvettes, like I think Antoine said it, they're basically gone down the Italian path, regardless of the price difference of Ferrari, Lambo, Maserati, McLaren, etc. And like, that's the thing. It's like, that's where it gets me. Now, again, I respect the engineering. I respect the homage to Zora. I get all of that. Would I, if given a Z06, would I defend it to the hilt? 100%. But for my money, I still think peak Z06 was the C6. The C7 one was an absolute animal, made crazy horsepower, but there's just something about massive cubic inches. A 7-liter, 427 cubic inch engine in the C6 Corvette that you can make reliably 600 plus, 660, almost 700 horsepower NA. Like, there's just something massively appealing to that. And I could be showing my age.
Yeah.
I could be, sticking my, again, sticking my head in the sand and being like, blah, 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 new bad, new bad, new bad, new bad. But on the flip side, I embrace, like, not for nothing, I still embrace the Coyote for being a modern marvel of an engine. You know, quad cam, all this other sort of stuff. A red line to 7,500, which is something only the most, like, something push rod engines only see in really race trim. I get all that. It's just, like I said, Corvette was special to me because it was quintessentially American, and it quintessentially and it quintessentially kicked the living shit out of Europe in Europe's backyard. Like, to me, when you go mid-engine, it loses that charm. That's all.
Yeah, I get that. I see that point too, for sure.
Justin, he, Shelby Saws, trademarked. Fun fact, Shelby did go into barbecue for like that weird time when he was messing around with Toyotas and stuff, and Chryslers and stuff. Fun fact, that's how Bob Sharp Racing ended up at Nissan and Paul Newman.
Interesting.
The future. Nah, the future will be giant cockroaches driving red block Volvos and 96 Camrys. Can't really argue.
Probably accurate.
Justin goes,
I mean, that's in the far future. That's the apocalyptic future.
I mean, yeah, I mean, that's what Will Smith should have been driving in I Am Legend.
Yes.
Justin goes, I remember seeing a new C6ZR1 in the dealership and was oogling over it. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'll let you guys in on a little secret. Before I got the Mustang, I was 98% all in. Well, 98% in on a C6Z. It was just that much more than I could afford at the time. I understand I say that while putting the purchase price of my Mustang back into it. Totally understand that.
But this was also 4 years ago.
This was, if I had made, let me put it this way. If I had made the decision on a sports car last year or just slightly before that, I probably would have gotten the Vet. But don't get me wrong. I love every inch of my Mustang, and I cannot wait to actually like start thoroughly enjoying her.
Yeah.
Christian McGraw. Where is Christian? Oh, there he is.
What's up, Christian?
Yeah. I was doing drywall.
Welcome.
Drywall. Fun.
Excuses.
So, actually, tile, which I will never offer to do peel and stick tile in my life. Good to know.
Peel and stick tile sounds horrible.
I've seen it in a few places, and it's I get the concept. Man, would it frustrate me to get that just slightly wrong.
Yeah.
Christian goes, also, I got a VW Tiguan today, and I don't know how I feel about it. Like, you're driving it around, or is it like your actual, like, now car? Yeah, and Antoine, several years ago I found out that the C6 Corvettes were using Cobalt SS steering wheel. That blew me away for a sports car using a mundane car's steering wheel. That's the only thing with the C6s. Like, their interiors are... Tell me you're in a Corvette or, like you said, a Cobalt. The infotainment itself is the same. But, that being said, you can get a better infotainment system. You can get a better steering wheel. And then, like I said, there's just nothing quite like a big cubic inch American V8. There's just nothing like it. It's like, sure, with your you need 4 cams. Here's my one, and I'm gonna beat you over the head with it. Like, I love that. Like I said, I understand that I would say that the Coyote is arguably one of the top 3 engines to come out of America in the last, 25 years.
Yeah, for sure.
Might be an
Totally
all-timer.
agree.
Um, it's just like there's just something about it, man. I mean, I don't wear this hat with this flag by accident. Let me put it that way. I love the idea. Don't get me wrong. I would love to get my hands on like the Ferraris you can't get your hands on. Like I think it's the 296 or 287 GTO that was made for racing, and much like the M1 from BMW, never got to race because the rules changed. But like, don't get me wrong. There's some Ferraris I would absolutely love to be able to have, but like, I don't know. I don't know if it's because I'm at a stage in life where I like Ferrari. Yeah, yeah, right. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I personally would never own a Ferrari. The only one I would ever really own is
The
the
Mondial.
F12. Montiel, Christ, no. Yikes. Yuck City. No, the F12. I think the F12 is the best looking modern Ferrari. I used to have a huge, raging, mega huge car boner for the 458, but I've since moved on, honestly, and quite frankly, it has a lot to do with the company. I'm just not a big fan
Right.
of
That's the thing with Ferrari.
Ferrari cease and desisting their own customers, like modifying their cars and yada 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 because of the prestige of Ferrari. Well, you know what, Ferrari? Honestly, go fuck yourselves, because literally the prestige of Ferrari doesn't mean shit when you have people coming in basketball shorts with enough money to buy cars and you give the cars to them. So shut up. You're just gigantic hypocrites, and I don't like companies that do that. So if I had the money to buy a Ferrari, I would quite literally buy anything else other than a Ferrari, because everyone's like, a lot of people would make the argument, oh, Ferrari makes the best sounding engines. Like, well, there are also amazing other sounding engines that are V8s, other V10s. Ferrari doesn't make a V10, but Lamborghini makes a wonderful V10, and there are V12s made by multiple other companies that sound just as good as Ferrari V12s. So yeah, if it was my money and I had the money, I would never, ever, 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 ever buy a Ferrari. Mostly out of just personal spite. I don't like them as a company, and I wouldn't support them as a company because of it.
Don't have access to visit. I'll tell you one Italian made in car that I'm actually like, I would love to play around with, the MC20, the Maserati.
That's the new one, right?
Yeah.
It looks good, but I don't know. It just doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, I think it looks so good and has enough performance that like, but because like you said, like Ferrari is just so full of themselves.
Yeah.
I just can't.
But like, if I have enough money for a Ferrari, there's so many other things I would want to do.
Right.
Like, I would throw 200K at Blue Sky to build me resto mod of all time, or
Oh
I
yeah,
would get
I'd totally do.
three Audi R8s
You know
for
what?
for the
I
same
totally
price.
do the. I totally do the Ryan Truex thing of just, all right, Ferrari, you don't want me to mod your engine in your car? Well, ha! I'm going to take one of your engines and modify it and put it in
Right.
something else.
Exactly. Like, I would much rather do that than buy a Ferrari, because like Ferrari as a nameplate doesn't really mean anything to me. It's Ferrari, and it has notoriety and blah blah blah, but like, Lamborghini's just as steeped in tradition, and quite frankly, so is Ford. So like, if you're buying it for prestige or snootiness, like that's not really car enthusiasm. That's just, clout, which is dumb.
Well, it's the
Uh,
ultimate extension, if you catch my meaning.
right, exactly.
And to
Yeah.
Doug's point, I mean, Lamborghini was literally founded out of spite to.
Right, exactly.
That.
And I've never been like the biggest fan of Lamborghini, but I have lusted after a Gallardo ever since they came out. I would much rather buy a Gallardo over basically any Ferrari that's been made past 1970.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
like,
let me put it to you this way: like, there's, uh, I'm not like, let me to your point, right? If I have Ferrari money, if I have Lamborghini money, if I have pick an exotic, like to Antoine's point, I'm not buying. If I have $1 million to throw at a car, or 500,000 or 300,000, I'm gonna build something that I'm gonna be have way more fun in. Because I mean, not for
yeah,
nothing. Up until what was it? I can't remember if it was the 360 or the 458. Mid-engine Ferrari V8 Ferraris, you had to remove the engine to do the timing belt.
355,
Right.
360s removed that.
You know, that's just
Yeah,
idiocy.
the 355 was engine out service for almost everything.
Fun fact: Ferrari got smoked by a Mark IV Supra in the OG Fast and Furious. Yes, it did, and now those cars are flip flopped. The
Yes,
355 is worth less than a Mark IV Supra.
100%. Yep.
Justin goes,
Yeah.
I'll take one McLaren F1, please, with the downforce package. Yeah, but you're driving around in a museum piece.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. That's a different level of money than what we're talking about. That is FU, F. That's like FU money, but also my next 4 generations can also say FU. Like
that's
that's that kind of money.
that's fuck you. I'll just buy the hotel money.
Right, exactly.
You
Yeah,
know,
I don't get the room I want. I now own this place. I can get any room.
it's
Yeah.
just
But if
like
I'm the same way. Like if I have like $250,000 to buy a car, which is what the going rate is for like a reasonably used Ferrari of some kind. Like if you're getting like an F12 or an 812 super fast that has some mileage on it or whatever, you're gonna spend $200,000-300,000, right? Um, if I have that, the first thing I'm doing is I'm going out and buying an Aston Martin Vanquish from 2014 to 2018, which in my opinion is the most beautiful car ever made. I think that thing, from a design perspective, is unbelievable. It also has a V12, and you can put an exhaust on it and make it sound utterly ridiculous.
I
There
still
are
think
many
I think your
videos to
Aston was the best looking car like that ever. But to each
really
their own.
the
V8
Gaydon era
Vantage.
Vantage.
I would absolutely. Let me put it to you this way: if someone came up to me and said, "I'll give you a stupid amount of money," like they'd have to be stupid to offer, but let's just say they came up to me and offered me 45 for the Mustang, 45.50 for the Mustang.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to think long and hard about accepting their offer so I could get a V8 Vantage.
They are very good looking cars.
I loved
However,
that car. Like,
having
absolutely loved that car. Like I said, the only thing I would do is make sure I had an extra 10 to 15K on the, or probably 25K on the side to just
yes,
put a real V8 into it.
that's what I was gonna say. Like having owned one, I would take your Mustang 10 out of 10 times because looks aside, it is a better car in every single way.
Right.
But if I'm talking about having $250,000 to chuck around, I'm not getting a V8 Vantage. I'd probably get a V12 Vantage if that was the case. They are excellent looking. They do come in a manual. However, I would get a Vanquish because I've always wanted a big front engine GT car that is both gorgeous and sounds incredible. And the Vantage sort of was that, but it's more sports car-y than GT in a way. It's not like a real. It's not like a pure GT car. It was a sports car GT hybrid, if you will. The Vanquish is more of just a pure GT car. I would probably get that. The Vanquish is definitely my reach dream car from that era.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can get them for like 150K. So that leaves you, if you're doing $250,000, it leaves you 100K. Well, cool. I have a daily. Don't need to sell it for any reason. Great. Now I have 100K to build something. So like that's probably what I would do.
I mean, of all
I
the
don't know how to
European
build
cars,
several things.
like it would be a 99. I would go for. I don't even know if you could get them for this money, but 997 911 GT3 RS would be up there.
Great car.
The AMG GTR, not the Black Series, the one with the crossplane crankshaft, because that sounds awesome.
Yep. Have driven it. So
Also,
good.
one of the cars on the extremely short list of vehicles that I don't care that it doesn't come with a manual.
Yes. There are certain cars where you just don't give a shit. That's definitely one of them.
You know, but like I said, like otherwise, like if I have $250,000 to spend, V8 Vantage, Coyote, call it a day.
Yeah. That
1,000
would
points of
be
light.
very excellent.
But real quick, chat actually has some things to say about this.
Yes. Sorry. Kids. Again. I'll be back for the 93rd time.
Doug, Factory 5 kit car is sort of the one to beat value-wise for me. I totally see the appeal of those. I kind of dig the idea that you can really throw any engine you want at them. I understand they're pretty heavily Ford biased, but any engine in one of those things sounds pretty tempting. Just for those of us who want to be different. Mark says Noble M600. He's just saying that because it has a Volvo V8. No, seriously cool car with a very interesting engine. Mark says actually it's a toss up between an M600 and MP4-12C. Interesting, because I always liked the 650S over the 12C, but I do also like that the 12C was sort of McLaren's. We're back. I kind of dig it for that. Antoine goes, if I had a Ferrari money, I would want to get the Aston Martin V12 Vantage, the one we were talking about, same generation as Greg's. I heard those generation of Vantages were far more reliable than anything else. I can't speak to that, but I can speak to if we have Ferrari money, we probably have man to take care of my broken things money. But you want to be reasonable. You don't get that type of money by being irresponsible. So Justin goes, if I had $250,000, I'd finally go buy my Buick GNX and take the remaining and go get a C6 ZR1. That's pretty awesome two-car garage right there. Can't really find any fault in that logic. Steve goes, if I had Ferrari money, I would rather invest in shifting lanes. Thank you, buddy. I do appreciate that. But just for kicks, let's just say you found another 250. What are you doing with that, car-wise? And don't say fix the Jeep. Be creative. Oh, no, you did answer that. You did say, if I had Ferrari money, I'd buy a DeLorean. Interesting. Kind of dig that. There was a brief moment in my life where I wanted to play with the DeLorean as far as, like, ditching the French engine and putting something interesting in there. Yeah. Mark goes, both the M600 and the 12C are high revving, high output, small displacement V8s. Sounds amazing. I agree. I've long wanted to do like a small, talking about 4 liters max, maybe 4.2 is a max, or smaller V8 in something like like an old MGB or a Datsun 510 or something where it's a small V8 but still plenty of punch. Like, always be kind of cool. Like I don't know, the idea of a V8 under 4 liters is always something that's interested me. It's one of those weird things in life. If I had Ferrari money, a Ferrari drivetrain would be in the Jeep. I see you want to make it less reliable, but totally get it. Oh gosh. Mark goes, the DeLorean just needs a better engine, LS swap. Someone actually did that. I forget who, but someone actually did do it, and it's on YouTube, which is really, really cool. There's also something about like old cars that's like, they're great. And then you like look at the infotainment and you're like, we've progressed. But I totally get that's why like body swaps or resto mods are like stuff I could get definitely down to it. Justin Brotman, thank you so much for the 100 stars. Just adding to Doug's Ferrari budget. I like the cut of your jib. I don't know why I said that, but we're just going to go with it. Christian, I think speaks for a lot of us. I have a list of cars I'd buy in Restomod with Ferrari money. Absolutely. Like if I had Ferrari money, the 510 would get built 100%. Then I'd have a Coyote powered V8 Vantage. And whatever I have left over, I'm putting into something that could slay Baja, even though it'll likely never see a desert.
Just buy a local motors rally fighter. You'll be fine.
Those are hideously ugly.
Oh yeah, of course they are, but they're purpose built, so who cares?
I totally get that. I meant like slay Baja in comfort, like a TRX or a Raptor R. Or
gotcha. G-Wagon 6x6. Go.
I think that exceeds Ferrari money.
It does, but shh, make it happen. It's LaFerrari money, so it technically still counts.
I mean, not for nothing, if Ferrari money could mean anything less than $25 million, because that's
I was going to say
250 GTO went for.
That's
275 right. GTO, that's the one I was thinking of earlier.
Yes.
Let's see here. Wow, there's a lot of this. Let's all agree everything Italian and German exotic sucks in terms of reliability. Just for giggles, but truly serious, when I say an Entiker Type X for the win, that it will outlast every exotic for life. Well, hashtag because Honda. Totally agree. Doug asks, could you buy a dragster for $250,000? That would be better than another car, perhaps. I mean, having your own track would be awesome. I would buy something to where I could have, like I'd almost want to take a big track and make like a miniature replica of it, like 1.5 miles, like something the size of Lime Rock, but more interesting than Lime Rock, because Lime Rock
like the Nürburgring.
I think Lime Rock has one left-hand corner.
Yeah, it's basically all right.
So but Lime Rock will always have a special place because that was one of the first racetracks I went to. My dad and I camped there every year for the, I think it was the IMSA races back in the day. I remember the Bud Light sponsored Jaguars, with the skirts. I remember that was pretty awesome.
That was Watkins Glen for me.
Yeah, so
we always camped there. That was cool.
Mark goes, as much of a tech guy as I am, infotainment doesn't really do it for me in a car. The highest infotainment tech I'd really demand is XM radio or Bluetooth. I totally get that, but it's going to sound kind of snooty, but it's more of a textural thing to me. Like, I would want satellite radio. I'd want a good stereo. But I'd also want it displayed in a... I've become accustomed to the 8-inch display in my Mustang, and I find it hard to backtrack from that, if that makes any sense. I like having that big display there. I like having a command and control center. I don't know. Maybe you have something that kind of comes out of the dash, so it looks retro, but you have that modern amenity if need be. Hetar goes, build a track based on Tail of the Dragon. Yes. Would absolutely love to do something like that. I would absolutely love to see them do like a hill climb there. I feel like, or like a state, I don't think American Rally, the AMA, goes to North Carolina, Tennessee, in that area. But I would love to see that be a stage on one of the rallies. Shoot, you could do 3 or 4 stages with all of the roads that surround. It's basically like you had a peak and then just someone cooked spaghetti on it. And then all the roads that go up to the top are pretty epic. Justin goes, Uh, the infotainment in my Buick is a tape deck and a clock. I mean, you're a simpler man than me. I guess. And that's not a bad thing. Um,
I'm with Mark though. I'm like, as long as it has Bluetooth, uh, I mean that to me that's pretty much all I need. What did Mark say? He's like, XM radio, or Bluetooth. Yeah, yeah. To me, as long as it has a way for me to plug in my phone, to get music through like the Lightning connector or Bluetooth, I'm fine. Uh, Automotive companies like to think that they're better at infotainment than tech companies. They're not. They just flat out
no,
aren't.
I
And
honestly think
GM's move to like go to their own proprietary thing come like 2025 or whatever. They're like ditching CarPlay and Google or Android Auto.
I thought they weren't going proprietary. They were just becoming Google exclusive.
It might be that, but I thought they were killing both Android Auto and CarPlay.
I'm pretty sure it was they made a deal with Google. Here's the thing. In probably 5 years, maybe less, you will see car companies once their current crop of what you call it infotainment systems have run their life cycle as each manufacturer, so like whoever has the oldest, you'll see them go first. They're just going to put a basic reliable computer in their dash, and it's going to be CarPlay or Android, or I'm guessing the default mode would be some variation of Android, just because if it's not an Apple device, Apple doesn't like put their software on it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you're not seeing like Lenovo come out with an iPad, right, or running an iOS or something like that.
Right.
So like I honestly I think, because think about it. Think of how much money they spend to figure out where to put a touchscreen button. And then the case studies and then the testing and all of the money they spend when Apple's like, just make it look like an iPhone. And they're done. Like,
Yeah, pretty much.
that's so whatever you decide you like to use, that's just going to be. And I think the cell phone companies are going to start to design their phones with that in mind. So like you might even see a feature where like it's literally, I don't want to say open source, but like you plug your phone in, whether it be Apple, Android, I don't even know if there's any others. I'm sure there are. And it'll actually, you have connected to blah, blah, blah device, download through your cell data or Wi-Fi or whatever is your house, and it uploads the programming to it. Like, granted, I don't think it'll be that basic, but the days of them figuring it out on their own are over. Like,
Yeah. 100% agree with that.
hell, Greg knows that the Volvo Sensus in our cars is decent without being a whole damn over the top show of a screen. Yes, Volvo I think does infotainment display as far as the total package better than anyone now, because it manages to feel both upscale, elegant, simple, and doesn't beat you over the top with, "Hi, I'm a touchscreen." You know?
Yeah, I agree. I think Volvos are very good at that. And it's laid out nice. It's laid out very nicely. Where it's not just aesthetically very pleasing, but it's also intuitive. The ones in mine and Mark's car are the old version, and while they're fine, but like quite frankly, the SPA version is just 1,000 times better aesthetically and functionality wise. The earlier versions are not as good as someone who owns that. It's definitely not as good. The later models are way better once they got better hardware and software with them. But the SPA platform is just it's so much better than the Census version that we had. But to that point, the Census version that we have there's nothing wrong with it either. It's a fine infotainment center. Like I don't really need anything more than that. I just have a suction cup for my phone and just run music off that, and navigation. Like I don't need anything else. Quite
Right.
frankly,
I like the idea. I
my
don't
commute
need. Let me
is
put it this way.
my commute
I
is
don't
zero,
need.
and I just drop my kids off. That's it.
I don't need a massive, massive, massive screen. I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
I do like having that 8, 9 inch screen that just displays the information in one spot pretty clearly and concisely. I don't know. I'm not a slave for tech. I barely listen to the radio. But I do like having my, like, in one spot that's easy to see, my HVAC, my radio, GPS if it was installed, which is annoying to, it's software. I can literally go into a section on my infotainment system and it shows me my GPS coordinates live. Like, it's stupid.
yeah, that's nice.
So, yeah, here we go. But real quick, before we sign off, I had planned on doing this earlier, only because I put a timeline on it. What the?
What's the juice?
Hold on. Brand, here we go. Merch store. You guys, I'm about to send you a link.
And we'll post this link again next week.
And we'll do this again next week when we can talk about it a little bit more and what
Yeah,
happened.
and it'll be the first thing we talk about next week.
But here we go. Shoot, I forget Apple. There we go. And for those of you on the Tube of Views, and to our no viewers over on Twitch. There we go. And I will wait while this sinks in for you guys.
Except me, I'm watching on Twitch. Hello.
So was I. And then Chrome for some reason. I'm pretty sure I'm using just about every last piece of bandwidth my computer has to
Nice.
stream on 3 different locations.
Really maxing out that stream deck.
Yeah.
Justin's excited.
Uh-huh.
Yes. The Chad collection is upon us.
The new spring line is here. Let me see if I can pull it up.
The spring drop.
What is the link?
Peak Chad.
Sorry, I have all of this stuff saved on Chrome, but just in case you want a preview of it, this
Look at that freaking.
we have shirts, we have coffee mugs, and we have stickers. So I wanted to get the OG's first crack at it because this is up for 17 days.
It's amazing. It's so good.
So I didn't want to be like, surprise, 12 days, and be like, hey, Greg's stuff was up for longer than that. Even though you all bought it on the first day, that was it for sales.
Yes.
But yes, you have Peak Chad, the sticker. And then the coffee mug. The coffee mug actually has that on both sides, so you don't have to turn it all that much to see.
It's for right and left-handed drinkers. Very nicely done.
Yes, I will be that into your soul, no matter which way you drink your coffee.
You'll be drinking out of the Chad face.
I'll also be posting a link in the supporter group. And actually, Greg, be mildly... how do I do this? Andrew, I will be posting a link in the chat of this video once it becomes a VOD. So if you're still watching, check back after we're done. I'm going to post a link to our Discord chat. We got we're having a lot of fun over there at this point. So this way we can merge YouTube and Facebook into one little chat. So definitely come back to this video for the link. I'll send that because I'm having issues with Chrome, and again, I think I'm maxing out triple streaming.
Yeah, you're overtaxing your machine at this point.
We may axe Twitch as far as these streams are concerned, but I am hopeful. Short version, I am hopeful that next week I get more clarity on my job, and I have more of a general idea of my schedule, and then I hope to do more like sort of fringy car streams. So like we talk about cars, but I'm doing other stuff. So, and I think we're going to use Twitch for that in addition to the YouTube channel. Why is the Swedish Hellwinkle not a regular tea? I will look into it. Yeah, Steve, link is in chat. Just in case you need it again. Blam.
Heard about new merch? Yes, you did.
I'm just picturing like Steve's like out of shot, and he's like, wait, hold on, let me see if I can do this. Right, do I have enough play in the cord on my headphones? Yes, I do. All right. It's like, and I'm out. Someone say new merch.
Yes. Ooh, hello.
Antoine, here's a fun fact. Neither Greg or I are Jets fans. Or Giants fans, for that matter.
Oh, yeah. No one cares about the Jets. The Jets don't care about the Jets.
So
the Jets, all the Jets want to do is just get aging Green Bay Packers quarterbacks at some point. That's all they care about.
Well, as long as this
Brett Favre.
As long as this one doesn't send a dick pic to a reporter, it'll be better than the last one.
Yeah.
So
pretty much.
What the hell was I talking about? But yeah, I mean, not for nothing. I am interested to see what he does with the Jets. Just because the Jets, hey, Justin just got our first Peak Chad t-shirt. Nice work, my
yes.
The Chad
my guy
has dropped. Yes, it has.
Now, what do you wear to Carlisle? Do you wear Greg Douche or Peak Chad? You have options.
I just want
come for both days and wear one each day.
I just want someone to come up to us and be like, there is a pack of dudes wearing shirts with your face on it. Who are you?
And at that point, we will be like, we are nobodies. Please watch our live stream. Oh, man. So good. Can't click on the link. Oh, I don't think on Facebook it's an active link. You have to actually copy and paste it.
Check your DMs, Steve.
Yeah, we'll put it in the Discord as well.
Yeah, once I figure out why I can't Chrome right now,
yeah,
I'll do that.
Which is a good place to stop because your computer needs a rest.
Doug got a sticker. Nice. He's going to put it somewhere dirty. Sure. I mean,
like the butthole.
I wasn't going there, but like, why don't you make it the first addition to your retro fridge?
There you go. That's good.
If a magnet would work better, let me know and I'll make one.
I like it.
Why not both? One for each day. Does the comments we make on the shop no longer auto pop up in your feeds? It does. Let's see here. I think I just. All right. I will work on a magnet. Check the store tomorrow. When it's up, I will ping everyone in Discord and in the supporter group. So now it'll go on the toolbox. That's dirty. Hey, what can I say? If you're not inspired by picking up a tool with that face looking at you, I don't know what will.
You're picking up a tool with a tool looking at you.
Silently judging.
No, but not silently judging because he's making a screen face.
Pretty much. Mark, I will. Again, I would have actually had the Swedish Hellwinkle shirt done in the time. I just cannot access.
I think we have one on our old spring store, but don't buy that one.
Um,
We'll get one in this store and then send it to you.
Actually, hold up. Let's see here. We're gonna do black, gray, and gray. Upload.
Oh, Andrew on YouTube. No, you weren't. You're fine, man. All good.
Set default. Ah, shoot. It's up. Should be live. Whenever. There we go. It is. It's live on the site now. Mark. I just got to rename it. I don't know why I did that. Next.
Don't worry, Justin. I'm also new to the Discord thing for the most part, and I also don't know what I'm doing. It's basically just if you know Slack or any other messaging service, it's similar to that.
Yeah, just it's really simple. There's a general chat. That's where we're all at the moment. Eventually, I want to link it to Facebook and YouTube so that we can have a supporter and member only discussion, and or places I can drop specific stuff for you guys.
Yeah.
That fetch has gone 92 years without your face. It will now finally live. Nice. Yeah, Justin, if you have questions, you can ping me and I can kind of walk you through the process. It's actually a lot easier. It's just I would set your profile and stuff up on desktop and then download the app. It's a lot easier that way, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, so Mark,
cool.
You have okay, perfect. Mark, I have it up on the site, so if you want to check that out, you're more than welcome to. It was quick. Actually, it looks pretty good. All right, guys. I don't know about you, Greg, but I am late tired.
Yes, me too.
But
go Devils. Jazz no longer tired. Now he's just angry, as evidenced by the finger.
What do we want to talk about next week?
Not sure. Whatever topic du jour comes to us.
Yeah. Anton, I will.
We'll definitely talk more peak Chad merch.
Let me see if, Antoine, same thing. I will reply to that comment right there, so keep an eye out. I will reply with a comment to the Discord chat. Doug, 1,300 stars for just hit 10K. My man. Nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dude.
Yep, this is still unresponsive.
All the support.
Don't know what's going on. But anyway, guys, we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for watching. To everyone who sent stars, who purchased merch, all that sort of stuff. Hey, we got M. Mayetter. I'm guessing that's one of you. Just got this. Hells yeah. Guys, awesome. You guys kick ass. Thank you so much. Steve, nice. Good job.
We'll figure it out, Steve.
We'll figure it out.
We'll message you separately.
Yeah. Head of customer service department is Sonny. Greg Sonny?
Nope.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it. Like I said, I gotta fix my browser, and then I can dive into it. But other than that, guys, again, thank you for everything. You might be able to edit your order, Steve, if you re-log in. I think.
Yeah.
But thanks, guys. You guys are awesome. We'll catch you next week. We actually didn't. We talked about a topic today and then never got to it. So go us.
Yes. We'll talk about it next week.
So we'll definitely talk about that. We'll talk about the upcoming events because at that point we will be less than 2 weeks away from Carlisle.
Yeah.
So lots of cool stuff to talk about there. But as for this video, guys, I just want to thank again everyone for watching. You know me as Chad. That's Greg.